Hi children, welcome back to my class. Now we are going to discuss about organisms and habitat. And in our earlier classes, we know that the two organisms which are present in our surroundings. So if you find in our surroundings, we can see different types of organisms are present in our surroundings. In that, some of the things can live and some of the things cannot live. And finally, we discussed about the characteristics of living and non-living things. What is meant by living things? The things which they have life is known as living things, and the things which they don't have life is known as non-living things. And coming to see our textbook learning outcomes. These are the objectives. Explain the characteristics of living things and differentiates materials and organisms on the basis of their properties and classify organisms and components of habitat as biotic and abiotic. Understand different habitats, organisms living there and take necessary steps to protect habitats. In this, firstly, we discussed about living things. What are the characters of living things? Living things can grow, non-living things cannot grow. Living things can move, non-living things cannot move. Living things need food and non-living things does not need food. And living things can breathe, non-living things cannot breathe. And living things reproduce for their next generation, but non-living things cannot reproduce. These are the characters of living and non-living things. In this way, we can learn how the non-living things are differ from the non-living things. So coming to our textbook activity 2, compare the characteristics. Some characteristics that are listed in table 1 tells you that you are living thing. Compare these characters with plants and animals and rocks. See, this table you have to fill in your textbook. Okay, finally, at last, what we conclude means all the things which are given in this table not showing same characters. In that, some of the things they have life and some of the things they don't have life. And the things which they have life, those are called living things, and the things which they don't have life are called non-living things. Now, activity 3, response to stimulus. Response to stimulus. And children, do you know the meaning of stimulus? Stimulus means a thing or event that evokes a specific functional reaction in an organ or tissue. See, once I am repeating, stimulus means a thing or event that evokes a specific functional reaction in an organ or tissue. So now we are discussing about the response to stimulus. See, response to stimulus. Here we are doing some of the actions in our daily life. See, table number 2. Stimulus. When you step on a sharp object while you are walking or while you are climbing the steps, at that time, when you step on a sharp object, what will happen? What is the response? You may fall. Okay? You may fall or the sharp object will enters into our foot or any of your hand or any of your body part. So at that time, what is the response in our mind or in our body? So we feel some pain. Am I right? Yes. Like that, touch a flame or fire. Touch a flame or fire. So playing with fire is firstly, it is not good for everyone. And touch a flame or fire, unfortunately, So what will happen? Obviously, again our skin will burn. It will get some injury. At the time also we feel some pain. Next, touch a block of ice. Touch a block of ice. Touch a block of ice. See, ice means very cool. So if you touch a ice blocks, then we feel very cool. So at that time our body also gets too cool sensation. Am I right? Next, see a bright light. When you are traveling or when you are sitting in any place or lighting areas, so if you see a bright light suddenly, our eyes will blink. Okay, so this is also one type of response. These all also stimulus. Response means here we are giving the reactions to this stimulus. Getting bitten by an ant or mosquito. At that time, we feel again pain. And when you hear the word ice cream or when you hear the word tamarind, so automatically from our mouth some water will come. So this is the response of this particular some actions. So these things or these events can named as stimulus actions, and these pain and our eyes are blink and mouth waters, and these all also comes under that response. Now this is about the response to stimulus. What is meant by stimulus, children? A thing or event that evokes a specific functional reaction in an organ or tissue is known as stimulus. For stimulus, we will give some reactions. Those are named as response. So to finally, response to stimulus. And next, all living beings possess the characteristic features of responsible to stimulus. And do other animals also respond to stimuli like us? Yes, animals also respond to stimuli like us. Do plants respond to stimuli like animals? Yes, of course. Some of the plants can respond to stimuli like animals. Here, what are the example for this? Even the dog also feels some pain, but it will not say to anybody. Okay, and coming to the activity 4. This is Mimosa pudica or Attipatti. What is this name, children? Mimosa or Attipatti. The scientific name of Attipatti is Mimosa pudica. See, this is a picture of mimosa. And also we can say this is a funny plant. Why we call this is a funny plant means when we are going nearby any roadside areas, we can find this type of touch me not plants. Okay, and when we touch these leaves, it will automatically close, and after some time it will be open like this. Okay, see here they given that only. It is very interesting to observe a touch me not plant. Touch it, record your observations. How does this plant respond when you touch it? See here, we are giving touch here. So that is stimulus. And automatically the plant leaves close. That reaction is called response. I hope children you all got an idea about response to stimulus. Okay, see here we are touching that is stimulus, and the response or the reaction is the leaves will close. So response to stimuli. Here we can understood with the example of this mimosa about the response to stimuli. And next, activity number 5, response to light by earthworms. So Before we discuss animals also showing some response to stimulus. See here, activity 5. For this, they given one activity. See children, while you are doing any activities in the science, then you have to follow some steps. So for that, you have to follow or write this aim and what do you need and how to do and what do you see and what you learn or conclusion. So these are the following steps you have to done in a project. First, the aim is to observe the response of earthworm to light. Here, earthworm is a animal. Okay, and the aim is to observe the response of earthworm to light. And next, for this activity, what do you need? Glass jar, black pepper, torch, moist soil, and earthworm. See children, this is very simple activity you have to do on your own also after this explanation. Okay, for this, what are the materials required children? Glass jar, black pepper, torch, moist soil and earthworm. Because the earthworms can live in the moist soil only. And how to do or procedure. Here, get an earthworm from a nearby moist soil and take a glass jar and cover half of the glass jar with black pepper as shown in figure 3. See here, this is the glass jar and in that keep some moist soil and half of the jar covered with black pepper. Okay, now put some soil in the jar and put the earthworm in the uncovered portion. This is covered portion and this is uncovered portion. So keep the earthworm in this uncovered portion. Okay, now close the jar with a lid who has holes on it because the earthworm wants some air for its breathing. Shed some light on the jar with the help of torchlight. Now, what do you see? The earthworm moves to the dark portion of the jar. Before, if you are not put on a light, then the earthworm stays in this place only. Means the uncovered area. But when you shows any torchlight upon this, it will go into that covered area. So here the earthworm responds to the stimulus of torchlight. So finally animals also showing response for the stimulus. Understood? This is about the response to light by earthworms. So now these are the green grams. Okay? So these are also can named as seeds. But children, seeds are living or non-living? Come on, already in your earlier classes, I taught about the examples of living things and non-living things. In that living things, plants also is there. Plants, how they reproduce? Through their seeds. Okay, so these are the seeds of green gram. So these seeds are living things or non-living things, children? Come on, think and say. These are living things. Seeds are living things. Seeds are produced from plants. Who is producing the seed, children? Seeds are produced from plants. And we know that plants is a living being. And can we say that seeds are also living things? Yes, conformly, the seeds also comes under that living things. But will it die it stored for a long time? And these seeds, where do we keep? If we keep these seeds or if you sow these seeds in the soil, it will turn into a baby plant. See, when these seeds, they will get sufficient air, water and sunlight, it will turn into a baby plants. So, seeds germinate and turn into a whole plant. So, Can we say that seed is a living thing? Yes, obviously seeds are living things. So, living things under a microscope. See here one more point. We can't find all living organisms. Only we can find different plants and animals which are we can see with our naked eye. But some of the other organisms which are present in our environment we can't see with our naked eye. Then how can we recognize it? For that we have to use microscope. This is one instrument. Microscope is one instrument to see the small microorganisms. Okay, see, we cannot see all things around us with our naked eye because those things like the antenna of ants, yellow powder of flies are very small, and in the living world there are some things that are not visible, so we cannot see them. And these smaller organisms we can see with the help of microscope. So now we have to see the structure of microscope. This is the picture of microscope. See, all of you just you closely observe. This is the picture of microscope. And this microscope has some special parts. Okay, see, first one eyepiece, and next objective lens, and this is slide, and this is called light, and this is called base, and this is called fine focus, and this is called coarse focus, and these are arms. These are the main parts in a microscope. Microscope is an instrument. Microscope is an instrument with the help of which we are not able to see minute things that we cannot see with our eyes. Minute things means very small things. So, which things we cannot see with our naked eye, we can find only under the microscope. Microscope is an instrument and it works like a hand or magnifying lens. How it will work, children? It works like a hand or magnifying lens, but it is much more powerful. It is much more powerful than the magnifying lens or hand. Basically, there are two components in a microscope. What are the, children? The structural component and the visual components. Okay, so how many components are present in a microscope, children? There are two types of components present in the microscope. First is structural components and visual components, and these components contain some parts in its body. Firstly, structural components are the head, body and base. See, head, body and base. See, our body also divided into two types like head, hands and legs. Okay, so like that these structural components also divided into head, body, base and arm. And next, coming to the visual components are eyepiece, objective and nose piece, coarse and fine focus, and also adjustment knobs or stage, aperture, etc. See here. So if you want to see anything, so we can keep under this lens. See, this is stage. In this structure is called slide. So if you want to see anything, you can keep upon this slide. Then with our eye from here you have to see. This is called eyepiece and this is called base. And for this is for adjustment only, we can keep this. What is this? Coarse focus and fine focus. Okay, so this is about the parts of a microsystem. Microscope. Firstly, the microscope contains two components, that is structural component and visual components. Structural components, what are the structural components, children? Head, body, base and arm are the structural components. And what are the visual components? That are eyepiece, objective, nose piece, coarse and fine adjustment knob, stays, aperture are the visual components. Then, what is the use of the microscope? So, we can find very many things with the help of microscope. So, what are the microorganisms in water? This water we can get from ponds, rivers, lakes, oceans and seas. And this water contain different types of germs, but we cannot find it. Obviously, we are taking air, means breathing air. This air also contains some microorganisms which are very harmful to our body. So, how can we find this type of microorganisms? So, we can find by using this microscope only. So, microorganisms in water. So, first collect water samples from a pond, well, bore well, okay, and keep them separately in 3 cups. In that, put a drop of water on a slide. Now, keep a cover slip on it. See children, when you are observing under the microscope about this slide, you can keep a cover slip on it. Observe under the microscope. So, why we have to keep up means, so some of the organisms again it will mix with that which are present in that water drops. So that we have to cover slip it. So, you have to cover it with cover slip and observe under the microscope. Now you can find the different shapes of microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. In your earlier classes only you learned the bacterium has different shapes like comma shapes or circular shapes or question mark shapes. So different types of or different shapes are present in the bacteriums. So these are the questions. What type of microorganism do we see in water samples? Maybe Spirogyra, some Vibrio cholerae, Salmonella. This type of bacteriums will be present in that water samples. But do all water sample have the same type of microorganisms? No. It contains different types of microorganisms. But is there any water without microorganisms? No water is there without microorganisms. So, what kind of microorganisms do you find in the water from a pond and a borewell? Thus, we see that microorganisms are present everywhere, although they are not visible to our naked eyes. From our activities, we could see only a few of them, but there is a vast world of microorganisms and they are also a part of the living world. So finally, our earth consists of not only plants and animals, but also it contains some microorganisms are also part in the living world. Now, activity 7. Who lives where? Lives means where we are living. See, some of the different organisms, animals can use different types of habits or habitats for their living. Here, a list of some organisms. Here, in your textbook, they give an activity 7. Here, a list of some organisms: ant, human beings, elephant, lotus, wall spider, and oysters, fish, rabbits, bees, sparrow, dung beetles, earthworms, murrel. Murrel means cormino. Or squirrel, rats, crab, snail, bat, pistia, water hyacinth, monkey, fern, tiger fern. So these are the different types of animals are there in our surroundings. But you can add the names of even more animals and plants that you see around you and remove them from the given list which are unfamiliar to you. See here, so here they given some of the names. In this, you have to take out the animals or plants which are living in that particular area. Under the ground. Which animals we can find under the ground? Snake, earthworm, and come on, rabbits or rats also can live under the ground. And on the ground, what are the examples or what are the living organisms living on the ground? Snake, humans also living on the ground, like cat, dog, these all also can live on the ground. And coming to this water, in water or on water, some of the snakes can live in water or on water, and some of the plants like lotus, water hyacinth, pistia, okay, these animals or these plants can live in the water or on the water. See, lotus means it is floats on the surface of the water, but snakes it will deeply go into that water. Okay, not only these two, and also fishes, crocodiles, and shrubs. These all also can live in the water. And some other places means the cow can live in shed, like horse can live in stable, and next lions can live in a den, like tigers also living in den. Like that, sparrows they will live in our homes. These are the living places. These are the living places of particular animals and plants. But coming to the frog. Frog is an example for terrestrial animal or aquatic animal? No, frog is an example for amphibious animal because these frog can live on the land at the same time in water also. Remaining some of the animals they can't survive either on land or either in water. For example, humans are the examples for land animals or terrestrial animals. But if you keep any humans inside the water means they will die because they cannot survive in the water. Like that, take a fish, take out from the any pond or river. Sometime after it also will die because the natural place of fish is pond, so water. But coming to the frog can live in the both places. Okay, means on land and in water. Living organisms have different needs. They usually stay in the places where most of their needs are met. That is, they get sufficient food, shelter, or other conditions necessary for their life. And all organisms depend on the surroundings for their needs like food, water, air, and shelter. These are our basic needs. So, for our basic needs, we are depending upon others. And the surroundings, which meets the needs of a particular organism in the best manner, is the habitat of that organism. And in a habitat, living and non-living things also coexisting, and also some microorganisms also will be present in that. And the living things are called biotic components. What is the another name of living things, children? The another name of the living things is biotic components, and non-living things name is abiotic components. Biotic components means which they have life is called biotic components or living things, and which they don't have life is called abiotic thing components or non-living things. And these two are interdependent. Okay, these two are interdependent. And plants, animals, and microorganisms are biotic components, whereas soil, water, air, light, temperature, moisture, etc. are the abiotic components of a habitat. So, these are living things means biotic things, and abiotic things means non-living things, soil, water, air, light, temperature, moisture. These are the abiotic components. So, habitats can be broadly classified into two categories. The first is aquatic habitat and terrestrial habitat. So, now let us see about the different habitats around us. So, based on this, what we can understand, children? The living things can live some of that on the land and some of the animals can live in water. So, the animals which are living on the land, that animals are named as land animals or terrestrial animals. The animals which are living in the world are called aquatic animals. But some of the examples like frogs and crocodiles, they can live in the both conditions. Those are named as amphibious animal. And what is the another name of living things? The another name of the living things is biotic components. Means man's and next cow, buffalo, dog. These all also examples for the biotic components. Means living things. And what are the examples for abiotic components? Soil, air, water, temperature. These all also examples for the abiotic components. So finally, what is meant by habitat? The natural living place of an organism is called habitat. The habitat is two types, that is terrestrial habitat and aquatic habitat. What is meant by habitat? The natural living place of an animal or any organism is called as habitat. So later we have to discuss about the different types of habitats are present in our surroundings.